This is a mammoth guide to metal versus shingle right here in Texas. Durability and longevity. Metal. Definite pro of metal. Metal roofs last more than usually 40 to 70 years, and they provide better resistance to wind, fire, and impact damage, which is the hail damage that you're trying to avoid. You find a lot of that info on the Metal Roofing Alliance. Great page, by the way. Energy efficiency. They reflect sunlight, cutting cooling costs 10 to 25%. You're going to save a lot of money, especially in those Texas summers. And I'm not making an advocacy here for the metal roofing. They're more weather resistant, so high winds, heavy rains, they handle it all. This is from the Insurance Institute for Business and Home Safety. Eco-friendly. A lot of times they're made from 25% all the way up to 95% recycled materials and are 100% recyclable at the end of their lifespan. So definite benefit there. Now here's some of the cons that you can consider for metal roofing. Prices. It's more expensive to get a metal roof. Now, it's only a few bucks difference per square foot, but sometimes that value is better because you're not having to replace your roof every 3 to 5 years. But it is a little bit higher on the initial cost, 7 to 14 per square foot. Noise levels, guys, when it rains, it's hitting a piece of metal, so it's going to be a little bit louder than when it hits an asphalt roof, so it can be loud. But if it's installed properly, you've got the right underlayment, sometimes it's not going to be as bad as you think. Expansion and contraction. This is something really important, especially when it comes to installation. If you don't have expansion clips in there to make sure that it doesn't warp because the heat, the expansion, the contraction, the expansion and contraction, you're going to see a lot of what's called oil canning. And contractors that don't know how to install those roofs the right way, they're going to be susceptible to that. And I can't tell you how many times I've had contractors talk to homeowners and say, oh, that's totally normal. A little is acceptable. But a lot of times if you can see oil canning, and it's really obvious, that's an installation error that sometimes can be just done by doing it the right way. All right, so that's the pros and cons of metal. Let's talk about shingles. So obviously lower upfront costs, a lot more affordable. We talked about the cost in another one of these little clips here, $5,000 to $10,000 per roof. Nowadays, it's getting even more expensive. Just in the past few years, we've seen our costs increase. We get messaging from our suppliers that lets us know that. Luckily, we buy in bulk, we buy a lot of shingles at a time, so it helps us to reduce our costs and give that value back to our customers. But it's also easier to install and repair. Guys, if you're repairing a metal panel roof, especially if it's standing seam, you got to do a lot of work to get down to the underlayment to see what the problem is with the leak. So if it's not something you can seal quickly, you've got to do a lot of legwork to get those panels off, sometimes taking off the entire slope to get the repair done. But with shingles, easy. You see one blowing up, you change the shingle out, no problem. Variety of styles and colors. Okay, so shingles come in a lot of different styles, a lot of different colors, luxury brands, impact resistant, a ton of different options. Some of the cons to consider, obviously, it's going to be lifespan. They have a lower lifespan, so a lot of times those roofs don't last as long. In Texas, I think we're lucky if we get 15 years out of a roof here in Texas. These roofs are designed to last 30 years. You hear that a lot, 30-year architectural, 30-year dimensional. And the way these are marketed nowadays, lifetime dimensional, lifetime shingle. But the truth is, with the heat, if they're not ventilated properly especially, they don't last as long. They're prone to weather damage. Guys, if you're in Texas especially, and some of these markets that get hit with hail a lot, guess what? Your roof's going to get damaged a lot easier from hail because especially if it's a little older roof, because the UV has baked some of that durability out of it, and now it's going to be more susceptible to hail damage. And then higher long-term costs. Okay, so if you make the investment on a metal roof, great. But over the long term, if you're having to replace that roof over time, it's going to cost you down the road, especially even if you're just making your insurance deductible. Guys, you're going to have to spend that deductible multiple times, especially, like I said, here where hail is dropping all the dadgum time. Which roof type is the best for us here in Texas? All right, if you want a long-term investment with minimal maintenance, you live in an area that are high winds, high hail, get hit all the time, you want that energy efficiency, and you want a more eco-friendly option, pick a metal roof. If you got a limited budget, or you want a more aesthetic choices, you want different choices, or if you're going to sell your home in 10 to 15 years, make a lower cost investment, put a shingle roof on. So if you want my recommendation, here's what I suggest. Go into one of our showrooms or have one of our guys come by, bring you samples of all the different types of roofs. We're not builders grade contractors pushing one shingle in your face. We want you to have lots of options, so we're going to show you different options, show you different types of shingles, styles, materials. Take a look at all of it. Get educated. We'll tell you all that stuff. And once you decide the right fit for your family, we guarantee you we're going to be the best roof money can buy.